Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Just as a reminder, yes, we are recording this session, and it will be made available to everyone at the end of the event, as well as the slides. Please go ahead and type in your questions throughout the panel. We'll make sure to address all of your questions at the very end of this event. Now, before we get started, I'd like to take a quick moment to go over the agenda today. First, I'm going to introduce the speakers that I have with me today. And then we're going to take a quick minute to talk about the importance of scaling analytics through self-service data analytics and why organizations today seem to be having trouble achieving it. After which, we're going to spend the majority of this webinar actually speaking with BookMyShow and Anujay at BookMyShow. And he's going to be walking us through how they've transformed their analytic process, some of the steps that they went through, what they're doing today, and how they're scaling their analytics and sharing some of his best practices with all of you on the line. Finally, we'll open it up to Q&A to the actual audience so you can ask questions of the speakers today. So with that, let me quickly introduce who I have with me. I'm Lisa Aguilar. I'm one of the senior product managers here at Alteryx. And with me, I have Anujay Mathur. He is a postgraduate from IIT Delhi, and he started his career working as an analytics consultant. He has over 4 years of work experience in the field of analytics across a variety of domains such as high-tech, retail, travel, and leisure. And he's currently the lead analyst at BookMyShow. And for the more than 2 years, he's been responsible for setting up analytics teams and adapting the industry best practices within his organization. He's also in charge of supporting business activities like pricing strategies, product development, and client servicing. In addition, we also have Abhishek, and I'm very sorry, Abhishek Bardavua he's an outstanding business leader with industry experience over 17 years. He has a passion driven through technology and a real zeal for expanding the horizons. His main focus is to drive analytic adoption in companies world over. And presently, he heads the Alteryx business practices at Team Computers and is known for his data-driven approach to solving complex business problems. He strongly believes that Alteryx is poised to take the next giant leap in the business world of analytics domain and is confident to drive Alteryx into the Indian subcontinent. So before we get started today, let's talk a little bit about why self-service data analytics is really critical to organizations and why it's such a problem. The biggest reason is the fact that though there's a huge amount of investment in analytics in most organizations today, and that investment is actually on the rise globally, data and analytic business decision makers are actually unsatisfied with analytics today and how they're being delivered. Forrester compared surveys over the last 2 years and found that the satisfaction in the analytics process has actually declined by 21%. And one of the biggest contributing factors to this decline was the time to access the data and therefore time to insights that businesses need. Essentially, the existing analytic processes of today aren't working. So we know that the processes aren't working, and 67% of organizations actually envision their business users the flexibility to be able to pull and use this data, but there are some huge barriers to make these insights an integral part of planning. And they really have to evolve a lot of the lack of flexibility, and this is due to the inability to access all the data in the right format needed for analysis, regardless of the format that's available in. Another big barrier is the inability to integrate and blend that data for insight. And finally, there's the delay in getting insights updated regularly and at the depth of decision makers need and at the speed that they require and not at the speed of existing processes. For data workers and line of business analysts, the only self-service data analytics tools that have traditionally been available have been Microsoft Excel. And while Excel has been great for basic financial calculations and some aspects of data cleansing and data prep, it does not perform the full end-to-end analytic tasks that most analysts need in today's environment. And it's especially difficult to analyze more than 2 data sources and perform deeper analysis on increasingly larger data sets with this as a tool. Today's analysts have the mindset to perform analytics that go beyond the limitations of Excel. And sophisticated analytics have long been available only through traditional analytic and BI technologies. And these legacy tools were really traditionally designed for centralized analytics staff and data scientists who don't necessarily know the business requirements as well as line of business analysts. So the focus is really looking for how do you scale your analytics across your organization in a much more effective way. And what we're going to do is we're going to now turn this over and have a discussion with Anujay from BookMyShow, who will walk us through how he's been able to scale self-service data analytics across his organization. So with that, Anujay, before we get started, would you kindly introduce BookMyShow to the audience and tell us a little bit about who BookMyShow is, what services BookMyShow provides, and who do they service?
Sure, Lisa. So BookMyShow is basically one of India's largest entertainment ticketing portals. We started out our journey specifically with movie ticketing, but post that we got into events, plays, sports, etc., etc. So as of today, we probably are ticketing every major event across every genre that is happening in India. We've also ventured into nearby countries now, UAE, Indonesia, very soon to go into other Southeast Asian markets. Apart from the usual ticketing business, we are also driving our business towards the content generation, wherein we've already started putting up some videos, some trailers, and we will soon be venturing into the music piece as well. So what we are trying to do is we're trying to cover the entire journey of a customer when it comes to entertainment, right from the booking of the ticket to taking a cab to the venue. Post that, we've also started launching coupons, so a person can buy a coupon for a restaurant and go out and have a dinner in a nearby area. All of that. So we are covering the entire value chain in this area as of now.
Perfect. Thank you, Anujay. With that, let's take a little bit of a look at how your analytics team looks at BookMyShow today. So why don't you walk us through what your current infrastructure looks like?
Sure. So analytics team has actually been set up in BookMyShow about 2.5 years back, with me being the first person. I was brought in specifically with the agenda to set up this entire practice and recruit people and all of that. So from one person in 2014, we're about 8 people now who are supporting almost all verticals of the organization. If you talk about the infrastructure, currently what we have is we look at, so the analytics team caters to not just the reporting and the MIS requests. We also do a lot of ad hoc requests for our support team, wherein we work with a lot of clients, event organizers and cinemas and etc. So those guys keep coming back to us and want to know from us, that how have they been performing in the past few months, what should be the way forward for them. Apart from giving the backward-looking insights, we also started getting into the forward-looking insights. So that's where the current infra is. So analytics team, according to me, would be positioned right at the center of the organization, providing support to all the verticals, no matter if it's client-facing or not.
Perfect. And what are some of the main goals of your analytics team at BookMyShow?
So some of the goals that I think we've already conquered as of today are getting our reporting processes and backward-looking insights under control. So as of today, it takes us very little time to give someone an analysis of what has already happened in the past. If you ask me about the future goals is to get into the more of the prescriptive and the predictive analytics, wherein we should be able to help our clients to structure their events. They should probably, for example, if a client has an artist with him, so instead of, in the past they used to come to us that, okay, I'm going to schedule this particular event in Mumbai or Delhi, all of that. We should get into the place where we should be able to tell them that, okay, if you have this artist, this particular genre sells the most in this particular city and at this particular price. So the client should come up with just the idea and the rest, everything should be executed by us. We're already halfway there, but yeah, that would be one of our very important goals where we get at.
Perfect. Now, I know you didn't always look like this when you first started at BookMyShow, Anujay. So why don't we take us back to when you first joined BookMyShow, and let's talk about your analytic process and what your infrastructure looked like previously. So how were you structured back when you first joined BookMyShow?
Okay. So when I joined in 2014, like I said, I was the first and the only person at that time in the analytics team. Back then, even the data actually, to be in all honesty, the data also used to be very simple in the sense of we used to usually handle Excel files or SQL tables, and that too not too much of a database. So the only infra that we had was probably a Microsoft Office and Tableau, which was already in place. Tableau was there for reporting purposes, which was already set piece over there. Uh, and the requests also were very, very simple in the sense of were just, probably more of a data transformation within that small megabytes of data or probably a few gigs of data that we were looking at. So that's how the data looked like back then. Things have definitely changed a long way since then.
Okay. And walk us through what the process looked like back then. So what was your typical process when you needed to analyze data or access data or get that data cleansed?
So we used to license with this external vendor. So we had a analytical servicing company who used to provide us with all our requests. So ideally, the process would be that anyone who has any data related query would raise a request with those guys, which was external to the company. Those guys would then come back to us with whatever the request was. Now, because the request was raised to an external party, so one thing was there was obviously a little bit of lag in terms of the turnaround time. So a simple request would range into probably a day's time, and a complex request would go all the way into maybe a week's time also. Other problem with having that sort of arrangement was that because the person who is doing all these analytical requests is external to the company, so they are not able to put in the business insights into the analysis that they're providing, which was one of the problem areas. So the insights used to come to us in the form of just raw numbers, and we used to make sense out of it. So it was quite a bit of challenge as compared to if you have an in-house analytics team who understands the business and how the metrics flow and everything. So they are probably able to put in more inputs than any external party.
Great. And how did you share, once you finally got these insights you got the data from the vendor, you took the information, you built some insights. How did you share these insights with the business leaders or decision makers within your organization?
It used to be mostly in terms of the Excel extract. So we used to send out emailers to those guys with heavy files. When the files started getting more heavier than the email attachments, we would probably store them on a Google Drive and share the link with them. So it was primarily in the forms of Excel outputs, and it was not something that they could just log into and view.
Got it. So Anujay, would you say when you first joined BookMyShow, it was definitely not a self-service data analytics type of an organization? It was really a lot of sending out requests to another department or another vendor in this case, waiting for the data, taking it back, trying to figure out what it meant, package that up for insights, and then share that in a way with your business decision makers.
Yeah. The process was a really long process.
So what was your breaking point and your aha moment? Because I know we're going to get into this next section here for your analytic infrastructure and your tool evaluation process. So walk me through when you said, we need something else. This isn't scalable for us.
Right. So once we had one person in the analytics team in-house, so we started doing a lot of those requests, like the basic simple reporting requests, which used to go out and take a day's time. Now it was able to be done within like a couple of hours probably. So that sort of a culture started coming into the company wherein people were taking more data-oriented decisions. So once that sort of a mindset came to the company, people kept asking for more data. Aren't we capturing this? Aren't we capturing that? Why are we not doing this? Our clients need this data, that data. So taking in their requests, we started capturing more and more data. Probably in a few months' time, we went from a few gigabytes to a few terabytes. That was the scale at which we moved in 2014. And by the end of 2014, we were already handling a few terabytes of the data. At that time, we were still on the SQL and the Excel platform. But post that, we started venturing into other platforms also for our different So, for example, we do have a BookMyShow wallet, we do have a coupons, we do have a referral program on BookMyShow. So, as and when we started getting into new avenues, we had to look at other platforms also. So, from SQL, we moved on to MongoDB, we started looking at Hadoop, Hive, all of these things. At this scale, when we are looking at terabytes of data, it is not possible for you, one, it is not possible for you to wait for so much time for the data to come back to you, because these analysis, if sent to in the earlier pattern, would take probably few months time, which was not possible for us because our customers look for solution real time. They are there to buy a movie, and if it's not available to them, they'll go, they'll anyways watch it. So that's why it became really important to us that to serve them real time. That's where we realized that we need to find something that is able to, one, help our customers in real time. So the response time became a really important thing. Other than that, the scalability, because now we are handling terabytes of data instead of the megabytes and gigabytes. So at that scale, it was, we needed something that could handle that sort of data and still give us result in a very low amount of time.
Great. So as your size of data is changing, as you're trying to perform more advanced queries, as you're trying to take in more data sources, you hit a point where you're looking for a new tool or a set of tools to augment exactly what you're doing. So walk me through how you discovered some of the tools that you're using today, and how you started to evaluate those tools.
Okay. So the evaluation process, like I said, you that we really needed to find a tool which is able to handle all this complexity and the scalability that we are having with our data issues. So we needed to find a tool that do that, and we started out looking in the market, and we to a lot of industry standard forums and peer reports. One of them was the Gartner report that came out at that time only, and we thought that we'll pick it up, and there was a number of tools that were listed there at different places in the quadrant. So we thought that we'll explore all these tools one by one. So that's where we started our evaluation process. So we used to pick one tool from the magic quadrant, and then we would analyze it at our end. So for the analysis also, what we used to do was we used to download a trial version of it. We used to have a look and feel of it. We used to have run a couple of workflows by ourselves to understand if the tool is very user friendly or not. Basis that we were able to shortlist out of the 20-25 tools that we were looking at, we were able to shortlist, say, about 5 or 6 tools. Then in the second phase, we used to get in touch with the companies. We used to invite them over to our office to do a couple of demos, to be able to explore the features that we might have missed out during the trial period. So those guys used to then come down and give us a demo in with respect to what all features are there in the tool, what are the other things that it can do, plus what are the future roadmap of the tool, and all of that. We used to have a face-on-face discussion with those guys. Then the tools that we liked and we thought that were moving in the direction that we really wanted it to move, for with those guys we ended up doing a phase 3, which was a small POC sort of a thing, wherein we used to give them a problem, call it a challenge or something. We used to give them a challenge, and we used to tell them that, okay, you turn this around with us, and let's see how your tool works on real data. So instead of doing the trial version, we used to do it on the full version. We used to ask them to connect with our data source on our instance, connect to the terabytes of data, and see how much is the response time of that particular tool. And then we finally kind of made a decision to go ahead with the tool that we really wanted.
Great. Thank you, Anjay. It sounds like you did a very thorough evaluation of several tools that you encountered during the Gartner Magic Quadrant. Can you talk a little bit about the tools that ended up on your short list of your evaluation?
Yeah, so there were a lot of tools that we started out with. But every step of the funnel that we were looking at, we used to probably cut down the number of tools to half. By the end of it, we were looking at only a couple of tools, to be very honest. By the end, where we were thinking of deciding on which one to buy out of these 2 or 3 guys. Alteryx obviously was one of the finalists that we had. And then it came to the entire commercial discussion, and also how easy it is to integrate with our existing infrastructure, because we already had Tableau in place. Even though Tableau can do a lot of things, but we don't want something to replace it as such. We wanted something to power it up. So that's why we thought that there should be something that makes use of our already existing investment. And I think that's one of the important reasons why we decided to go ahead with Alteryx. Another one that I really think was important was the value for money that the tool gives. The other tools in the market that you see today, even the ones that made it to our shortlist, when we went on to the commercial discussion, the prices that we used to hear, and we were not this big back then. I mean, we had run on very thin margins. So it's not like we have crores and crores of money to spend just like that. So the price was actually one of the pain points that we used to have. And Alteryx kind of fit right at the spot where because at the pricing that it does, it's a super value for money because it is able to do a lot of things together and it's not really charging us a bomb on the pocket. So yeah, so that's kind of I think one of the those are the two apart from the entire evaluation process. The final two reasons why we decided to go ahead with Alteryx would be these two.
Perfect. Now, I know that you were talking about a lot of the queries that you guys were trying to perform and the amount of data that you're trying to perform these queries on. Talk to me a little bit about the scalability of queries that you were able to do with Alteryx when you were evaluating it and some of the complexity of queries that you were able to do with Alteryx when you were evaluating it.
Yeah, so like I said, Alteryx made it to the final phase wherein we were doing a proof of concept project with those guys. And that's where we were speaking to team computers, and those guys kind of helped us understand what the tool can do and everything. So we threw them an open challenge that, okay, here are 5 requests that we want you guys to do. 3 of them were something that we were already doing. But through our rudimentary methods of running the SQL codes and pulling in the Excel files and all of that, the longer process. And 2 of them were something that we were not able to do because of our own limitations with the existing tools, existing infrastructure. We were not able to, so those complex queries, so we gave them the list of these 5. The first 3, which we were already doing, the idea was to understand how much of the time saving can this tool do for us, because we know obviously we have a measurement of how much time that particular query takes us to do. And the other two queries that we gave these guys were to understand if at all the tool can get into that level of complexity, because we have a customer base of over 16 million. So when you get into that level of data, it becomes very, very difficult to run some complex queries. So one of the queries which we were already doing, for example, was the cohorts, which is a retention behavior of the customer, and that query used to take us probably a few days to run the entire thing. They were like, we used to pull in data from 10, 15 different tables, and we used to do 20 joins, and it used to take us a hell lot of time. And during that entire course of running the query, the resource who is running that query would be constantly occupied because you can't really leave the process. You have to constantly monitor it, keep a check if the data looks right and everything. So it was a really, really long and a tiresome process. The workflow that team computers provided us for cohorts on Alteryx took us about 20 minutes of time, and it could easily run in the background. The resource is now free to do other things also. So you do not need that constant supervision, and then your resource bandwidth becomes all of a sudden it becomes double because he's now available to do other query while the first query is running in the background.
Perfect. So now we know what you went through in terms of evaluating your infrastructure and how you came about to evaluating your infrastructure and new tools and how you're going to augment your process. Let's talk about how you implemented your new tools and how you're able to scale out your analytics and develop the analytics team that you have today. So let's talk about how well did Alteryx actually integrate with your existing infrastructure?
Okay. So one of the important things that we wanted any tool that we bought or procured was to integrate it well with the already existing infra. And the infra that we had existingly was kind of very little. We just had Tableau and SQL workbenches and all of that. But at the same time, we did want to make use of those things. So because Alteryx has this partnership with Tableau, So that became one of the things that, okay, the reports that we are currently running on Tableau and through the longer process, Alteryx can power them from the backend. All Tableau needs to do now is focus on the visualization, which obviously it does well. So we would do this thing. So we would convert all the reports that were there on Tableau, we would convert it into an Alteryx workflow, and the output, we would convert it into form of a Tableau data extract, which we would feed into the visualization that was already there. That was one of the important things. In terms of the other platforms, in terms of the databases that we were looking at, like I said, we were already dealing with a lot of Excel files. We were dealing with a lot of SQL tables. We had moved on to Mongo, Hadoop, and all of that. So one of the important things was that the tool should be able to connect to all these different databases that we have today and the ones that we are planning to get into in future. So there also Alteryx has these connectors wherein we can easily connect to the MongoDB database and we can connect it to Hive server. And we've already run a couple of reporting workflows on these platforms as well. So that was one of the important things for us, and I think Alteryx fit that well also.
Great. So you've been able to expand not only the reporting that you can do, but as well as expand your data warehousing and all of the other analytic infrastructure and processes, warehouses, and tools that you want to use to handle all the data within BookMyShow.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay. Even in the terms of delivering the reports and the analysis that we used to do, that also kind of became very quick and more automated, because now instead of sending those Excel files and everything, we were able to publish reports directly and send it out to the distro list without really one person typing the entire mail. So that also became quite automated for us.
Perfect. Now, one of the things that a lot of analytics teams still do when they're looking for this self-service data analytics kind of tool or process or solution is Excel tends to be the thing that people like to look because of the learning curve and it's easy to use. Why don't you talk to us a little bit about what the learning curve was like using Alteryx for you and your team?
Absolutely. So in the initial setup, when we used to find resources, we used to look for people who have at least 2 years, 3 years of experience in terms of dealing with these databases, running SQL queries and everything. So that used to be one, and and because you're looking for resources with work experience, that obviously adds to a cost on that you are spending on those guys to get on board. Apart from that, also, even once they have joined, these guys with 3 years or 4 years work experience, even when they have joined, you have to spend a lot in terms of the training cost to have them understand the different kinds of syntaxes, the different kinds of codes, the different kinds of joins that you need to make working on our own database. That used to be another cost, which now with Alteryx, the thing is that we don't really need to look for people who have any minimum sort of a work experience. We've already started doing this, that we hire people who have the right analytical mindset. They are able to make sense of the big data sets. We hire them even though they do not have any experience of SQL and everything, because we know that they don't really have to get into the coding bit of it. We know that once they come on board, we will just have to train them in terms of understanding how this particular tool works. And once they figure it out, it won't be required for them to get into the raw codes and learn the syntaxes and muck them up. So that's one important. Even the training cost, the learning curve also became really, really quick, because the UI of the tool is quite user friendly. So it's just a drag and drop functionality. So you don't really need to spend hours and hours figuring it out. And even the naming of the nodes is quite intuitive. So you can figure it out. There's enough help available in the market. So that also becomes a very very added advantage. So the guys that we used to hire earlier with 3 years experience used to take about 2 weeks time to be thrown under the bus and to be thrown under the line of fire. But today we hire freshers and they are ready to run certain workflows in like a week's time or maybe less.
Perfect. So even though Alteryx is a very, very all-encompassing tool, what I'm hearing you say is it's not something that is difficult to learn because of the easy drag and drop phase. And it can still handle a lot of the complex analytics and queries that you need to perform for your team.
Right.
So, and how long does it take for you to produce insights today in your current infrastructure?
A lot less than it was back then. So I'm saying back then as if it was a different era, but it is a different era for us because, like I said, a couple of requests used to go into days and weeks, and now today we are able to run the same request in probably one fifth or one fourth of the time, and that too, even if the data accuracy has gone up majorly, so even the quality of the data that we were providing to our customers, be it internal or external. So that has also gone up. The turnaround time has gone down by one fifth probably. And even if there is an error, even if at all there is a error that in the workflow that we have created, the QC part has become so easy because you don't have to run through lines and lines of codes to find out what was the error that you made. You just have to understand, okay, this particular data set was ideally supposed to flow from here to there. Instead of that, you connected wrong. So you just redo that connection and you're good to go. So that has also become quite easy for us.
So I'm hearing you say that it's not only faster, but because of the friendly interface of Alteryx, you can now trust the results and your data reliability and have more confidence in the accuracy of it, or be able to identify problems faster if there is an issue. Is that correct?
Right, absolutely.
Now that you've been able to streamline the building of your analytics and your insights, talk to me a little bit about how you've been able to streamline and share these insights with decision makers across your organization, and how this is impacting the decision-making process within BookMyShow as an organization.
So, in terms of sharing the insights with the different stakeholders, the decision-making process obviously now, instead of just running on intuitions, the decision-making process is more data intuitive now. They talk to us more often. The analytics team is part of almost every product development, almost every client meeting. So we have POCs for everything like that, because they also understand that with the power of the data at the back end and with the quick insights that we are able to deliver, we will be able to service the clients better. So if a client has a question and we are able to service it right there, he has much more confidence on us, than rather than we telling them, okay, we're going to come back to you in a week's time. So that has been one important aspect in terms of the decision-making process. Apart from that, internally also, various product innovations that we keep doing, there are also a lot of assumptions that we have to make are now out of the place. We don't have to make those assumptions because you just have to tell us, okay, this is the data set I'm looking at. Can we do it through Alteryx that we have? And the answer almost always is yes. Yes, of course we can do this. And that's how the decision making has become at our end now. So every meeting, every request that we have is completely data oriented, completely the process is data oriented. And in terms of sharing the insights also, like I said, it's become very automated. So those guys also are, most of the requests that we have are usually repetitive in nature. That every month on month we would want our clients to ask us the same thing. Like, what was the ticket sales? What was the transactions that have happened in the last month? How has the distribution been across geography? So there also, because we have been able to set up workflows and we've been able to publish them, they are able to do that themselves. They don't really have to come back to us with the repetitive requests. We are able to provide them with a login. They are able to log in. They are able to refresh their own data requests and see it for themselves. So the dependency on the team also has gone down in terms of sending a request and receiving files.
I'm hearing that you've been able to automate a lot of the regular reporting so that you and your team can then now focus on more strategic insights or more business impactful insights, while still enabling those decision makers to consume the information that they need when they need it without bogging down your team. Is that correct?
Correct.
And in terms of, I think you spoke a little bit about this, how has this empowered your team, your particular analytics team, and how are they being perceived within BookMyShow now?
So I think the analytics team as of today would be one of the most trusted teams in the company. Every resource that we have, we keep hearing some or the other level of appraise about the resource that we have today. So we are the most trusted team in the company, and with the kind of data requests, with the kind of risks that we take while servicing our customers, it is important that the data team is the most trusted ones. You can't really mess up with the data and make wrong assumptions and go out in the market and service your 16 million customers. That's not something that anyone would want to do. So that's one. The trust in the analytics team has gone up significantly. The reliability, even today, so the trust is so much that the guys in our company, the business development guys and the client servicing guys, they go out there in the market and they make commitments to the client without even confirming with us, because they have this assurance that no matter what, analytics team will be able to handle this thing. So that kind of, and once they made the commitment, it becomes important for us to deliver, which sometimes is a problem because now we have to push ourselves. But thankfully, because of the entire infra that we have today, we are able to deliver. And during the course of the process, we are also able to evolve much more. We are able to learn much more and all of this. So from the reporting system to post-event analysis that we've been doing, we've now gone ahead and started consulting our clients with their pricing strategies, with their organization strategies. So it's been a long way. And considering that we're just still a small team of 8 people, I think it has impacted our team. It has made us very empowered.
That's so great to hear. Now, you talked a little bit about what you're doing. What are your next steps for Alteryx at BookMyShow? What are the next big analytics models that you're looking to explore and perform?
So, since we've already covered with the servicing the customers in the sense of whatever their past behavior was, one of the biggest things we've already kind of gained confidence of our clients and the event organizer and everything, but the most important is the customer that we have. So the biggest challenge for us is to understand what kind of people are we dealing with and what is it that they would like to see when they log into BookMyShow website or when they open our app. So that's where I would like to take this entire analytics team to, wherein we are trying to get into the entire advanced analytics, all the predictive grouping and the random forest models and your A/B testings and everything. So that would be my next step with Alteryx at BookMyShow, wherein we are able to predict the behavior. We are able to, once the customer logs into BookMyShow, we are able to tell him, okay, we know you better, so here it is. This is what you would like to see with us. So those also, again, for that respect also, you do need the R and the Python and all of these languages knowledge in the background. But there also, because Alteryx has the entire set of predictive nodes, which helps us do the forecasting and the predictive grouping and your A/B testing and all of this. And at the back end, it's still run through R. But at the same time, the guys today that we need to hire for this particular vertical, they don't really need to. It's the same as the SQL thing. They don't really need to be aware of the syntaxes of R and Python. All they have to do is just understand the nodes, how they have to be constructed together, and how the workflow should run, and they are able to do that right on the interface. So they don't. So now we can hire the guys who are good at theory and may not have exposure to the language. So that's much more important to us.
Excellent. So it sounds like you're not only scaling your analytics, but you're also, with Alteryx, helping to scale your existing analytic team's skills because of the intuitive interface and not requiring them to really understand a lot of the statistical languages that are often associated with advanced analytics. Is that correct?
Yep, absolutely.
Perfect. So I want to make sure that we have enough time to answer questions through the audience directly to you, Anujay. So what I'm going to quickly do here is I'm going to introduce Alteryx just for a few minutes, and then I'm going to be passing this on to Abhishek from Team Computers, and then we'll be getting into the Q&A. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Alteryx, I'm going to spend just a few minutes introducing who we are. We are the leader in self-service data analytics. And it's useful to think of Alteryx as a repeatable workflow to prep, blend, and analyze all of your data. As Anujay was highlighting earlier, a lot of what organizations who use Alteryx are able to do is really offset a lot of that daily reporting with our automated repeatable workflows. And again, like Anujay was saying, when he was building out a lot of his analytic insight, sometimes it's an iterative process requiring you to go back to the data and really manipulate it over and over and over again. And with Alteryx, the repeatable workflow really allows you to do this quickly, take all the relevant data you need for your analytics, regardless of whether that data is stored in a data warehouse, whether it's stored in the cloud, on a desktop, or in Excel, join those data sources together, even if they're structured, unstructured, or semi-structured, and then use common fields or geographic proximity to join and build the data sets that you need for analysis. Now, should you need assistance in rounding out your data set, we do have relationships with some leading third-party providers such as Dun & Bradstreet and Experian, so you can actually enrich your internally collected data with additional information and amend information gaps. And then once you have the perfect data set that you need, you can actually use the same workflow and the same intuitive user interface to perform the analytics, whether they're predictive, statistical, or spatial, within the same platform. And as Anujay was saying, it's really just a natural extension to what you've already been doing with the drag and drop tools. It just really helps to extend the platform as well as an analyst skill. So, and as Anujay mentioned earlier, our predictive tools are based in R, yet they require no coding on the end user's part because of the drag and drop interface. And should you be an R programmer or should you have one in-house, with Alteryx, you can actually easily write custom R code within Alteryx and import it and use it just as is. The other thing is our spatial analytic tools really help extend the type of analytics that users can access. So I'm sure most of you have heard, most data has some component of location information with it. And what you're going to try and do with that information is just a useful resource for you. Alteryx, again, makes the full spectrum of analyses available to you in a single platform. And then from sharing insights, what good is the data that you create if you cannot easily share it out to business decision makers who need it on a day-to-day basis and need it at the time that they need it? Alteryx makes it very easy within a few simple clicks to output your data to a variety of visualization formats, whether that's Click, whether that's Tableau, Salesforce Wave, our new integration with Salesforce Wave, or Power BI, or as well as create analytic apps without having to create HTML code. And you can refresh these insights and data simply and quickly and automated if you have scheduling that you want to implement, so that business decisions, when they walk in the next morning, can have access to the freshest data available. With that, let me pass this on to Abhishek, who will continue on our conversation. Abhishek, I believe you now have the floor.
Hello, Lisa. Thank you, Lisa. This is Abhishek. Hi, everyone. So basically, I represent Team Computers, and Team Computers are basically a platform to think, to play, to dream. Team Computers basically were initiated 30 years back in the business, and the basic DNA of our company is basically to do a seva. So that's where basically we come across a technology company. So this is Team Computers. We have 6 business units at our end. We have got Business Analytics, which is basically the BI arm of Team Computers, which mainly focuses onto the big data analytics engine. And we do a lot of analytical projects for various corporates, which I will be speaking about in my next slides. We have a different, there are different division we have called Google Solutions. So we provide Google platforms. We have Google emailing system, Google apps. We do business for them. And we have a third division we call apps. So basically, this is totally focused to Microsoft business. So we have been doing business for Microsoft Dynamics ERP. We are doing a lot of projects in SharePoint. We are helping a lot of companies to actually deliver their or make their portals onto the SharePoint. We have our business other segment. This is called Infrastructure Solutions. So we build infrastructure solutions. So we help in basically from end computing to the performance computing. So we actually bring solutions to end-to-end scales of the infrastructure solutions. And to manage the infrastructure solutions, we provide manpower and resources to do this. So we are also into the FMS business and providing those all type of supports to them. Apart from that, we have a very dedicated Institute of Business Intelligence. We have approximately till date today, we have across 1,000 plus business consultants on BI, on various BI. So it's basically an educational institute where we deliver education, we deliver technology educations on Alteryx, ClickView, and basically in Tableau. So this slide is more focused into basically the introduction to our data analytics team of Team Computers. As I said, we're a 21-year-old company in this business, and our analytical layer, our analytical business is 10 years old company. We have been actually delivering a lot of projects. We have across 10,000 plus data analytics projects to our credit, and across the verticals. So when I say across the verticals, we are doing business for across retail segments, insurance segments, enterprise clusters. So what we have done, we have almost 3 clusters at our Team Computers, which are very focused into the auto industries. So if you name any of the worthwhile company, we have done business with them, like Maruti Udyog, Mahindra, Escorts. We are delivering the analytical projects with them. Apart from that, auto cluster, we have called insurance. So we have an in-house product called Q Insure, which we are delivering a lot of projects like SDFC, Ergo, Fullerton, Magma. So Magma also we have our setup in our Gurgaon office. So apart from them, we have around about 600 plus customers across verticals. We're delivering these projects for BI for them. We have a very expert senior management, approximately 1,000 months of BI experience. And we have people from down the line where actually the BI bus initiated in India. So we were the people who brought ClickView to India, and we have been associated with the technologies like we're today preferred vendors for Tableau. Alteryx, we are basically a master resellers and deployment partners for Alteryx in India. And we are actually helping and training people on Alteryx, deploying these technologies. As Anuja said, we help them basically in doing a lot of POCs with them, actually analyzing this technology, how this technology can be helpful to their business. And for this, we have been accredited with a lot of awards and milestones to our credit. Like last year, we have been awarded the Technology Partner of the Year from ClickView. So what we do basically, we actually focus into the analytical part, analytics, and we partner with the best of breed of the solution. So when we've gone ahead and tied up with Alteryx, we became the master resellers. We know that this technology is going to boom in. This technology has got a lot of potential, and what we have analyzed it, and that's the reason we brought in this technology from India. Now, to go and focus into the Alteryx business unit, what I handle out here. So we have a large pool of certified Alteryx trainers at our end, which helps you doing a lot of trainings for a lot of corporates. Like we have a dedicated Institute of Business Intelligence, where we have churned out trainings for a lot of analysts and a lot of corporates. Recently, we've done it for Deloitte, Cognizant, Shell, PwC. We have a dedicated arm of our experienced Alteryx pool, which helps in executing POCs, the proof of concepts on Alteryx. We have been executing specialized demos for them. Like if you have something called you want to do something very specifically for your big data analytics projects, or you want to test Alteryx on a certain level, we are there to help you out there. We do like end-to-end consulting, right from basically the conceptualizations, the architecturing of the project, till to the implementation of the project. We also deliver, we have also started our big data projects in India now. We are actually doing high-scale projects to basically, we are the guys, we can help you out in scaling of the analytics. We are consulting on the data strategies, what should be data strategy for a company, how we should do it. And all those, so there's a one-stop solutions for basically where you can come to us and we can create stories out of data. We have done it for UTI, we have done it for Punjab National Bank, Blackstone Bank Kaiser, Fidelity, DTDC, where actually we have analyzed their data sets and we have given them solutions on basically on Alteryx and how this Alteryx can be helpful with them. These are some set of customers. We have approximately 600 plus customers where we have designed some we have done projects from small scale projects to a large high data, big data projects with them. So in case of any of your analytical needs, if you're looking for, so you can reach out my numbers. My numbers are basically listed on the screen now. You can also email me. The email is also listed out in the, and we'll be sharing this deck, so you will have all my coordinates along with this thing. Also, just to give you an input, we are also starting up an Alteryx India user group, where this group will be actually being paneled by our Alteryx experts from our team, which will be actually delivering a lot of solutions to your queries, issues. We will be solving out of any of the problems or any of you wanted to help or support onto this Alteryx sets. And also, if you're interested in actually exploring this amazing platform, please do contact us, and we are actually there to help you out in analyzing this Alteryx tool, doing a lot of doing POCs for you, doing proof of concepts for you, and also if you wanted to go ahead and purchase the licenses for that, we are there to help you out. Thanks a lot, and over to you, Lisa, now.
Great, thank you, Abhishek. So we have just a few minutes here for Q&A. I did see a lot of questions coming through. I just want to let everybody know on the call, if we don't address your question on this call today, you will be followed up with, and someone will be getting back to you to help answer any questions that we weren't able to get to. So one of the first questions here is for Anujay. Anujay, one of the attendees would like to know if you're doing any customer analytics, and if you could maybe go into just a few details, maybe not too much if it's too much of a secret for you, but what you guys are doing along those lines.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are obviously doing a lot of analytics at our end. One of the most important things that any B2C company today will have to do is the recommendation engines. So we already are trying to better for you guys, where we should be able to, even if so today our recommendations are basis the stuff that you have watched with us, that you've bought with us. But as like I said, we're getting into the content piece, and very recently we were in the news for getting another round of funding for the same purpose. So there we would be able to understand from you, okay, that what is it that you would like to see, even if you've not seen. So suppose you've not seen a cricket match with us, but we know that you've been watching a lot of cricket videos with us. Maybe if there's a good match coming up, maybe you would be interested in that, and that's how we are going to improvise recommendation engine with trying to inputting more and more data that we have today. So that's one of the primary ones. Then another, obviously, we provide support to our customer engagement team in terms of the engagement that you guys receive your emailers and you guys receive your notifications and everything. That also we try to target it the right, so that you do not receive any unimportant stuff from us, and you do not get irritated by our notifications and our emailers. So we make sure that only the right thing is getting delivered to you, and whatever is not relevant, we do not send it out to the customer base.
Perfect. Thank you, Anujay. There's another question for you, Anujay. You had mentioned how you moved into terabytes of data, and you did talk a little bit about how Alteryx was able to handle it from a timing perspective. Can you elaborate a little bit more about how Alteryx has been able to handle your increasing data size? And then I'll ask a second follow-on question that they have after that. Anujay, did I lose you?
Okay.
I think you may be coming through a little bit choppy.
Okay. All right. Okay. So I was saying that bigger data sets have to this work and kind of so to analyze bigger.
I think your audio may be breaking up quite a bit, Anujay. While we try and check, I'll check in with you in just a second here. I'm going to address this question in the time that we have, and then I'll check right back in with you. For those of you who are curious about how Alteryx actually handles data, we use two different ways of processing data. We process data in memory as well as through in-database data processing. When we are moving large volumes of data through Alteryx, we will actually connect to a data set and then stream that data through a workflow in a local memory when we're using local in-memory processing. And when the volume of that process data exceeds the available memory on the actual machine, Alteryx will briefly write that in memory to a temporary file on a disk to execute data processing. And then this file is stored in the default Alteryx temporary space, which is a configurable location and can be written quickly back. And after Alteryx reads all of the source data, it then merges in-memory records as well as records in the temporary files, and then sends that data through each of the tools within the Alteryx workflows. And then when the data finishes passing through the entire workflow, Alteryx actually deletes all the temporary files. So that's how Alteryx is able to scale through in-memory processing on an actual just simple desktop. Most of the workflow and data processing performance are really primarily dependent on I/O, memory, processing speed, and data volume. The other way that Alteryx handles data is through in-database processing, where the actual data analytic process is packaged up and pushed down into the data warehouse. So if you're working with really, really large sets of data, or if you're working with data that you're performing lots of analyses on, or if you're making lots of iterations, sometimes it does not make sense to pull that data out completely out of the data warehouse, but makes much more sense to actually push the analytic processing down into the data warehouse. Alteryx, again, does this really easily. What you do is you simply use the drag and drop interface and the tools that are available within Alteryx. Alteryx then packages that up into SQL code query that is pushed down into the data warehouse, leverages the data warehouse and uses the data at the actual data source there, and only ends up returning the results. So it's extremely scalable from a data processing perspective. Let's see if we have Anujay back on the line again. He's able to. I think, Anujay, you may be coming. Oh, there we got you. I can hear you.
Okay, great. All right. So I'd circle back to the question that was on me earlier, which was how has Alteryx helped us in dealing with all the big data that we're dealing with. So like I was saying, so anyone who would be handling on different data sources in the big platforms, one of the very basic things to do is pull data from different data sources, make those small tables, join them across different tables, and so on and so forth. That is one of the biggest challenge when you're working on the older infra. With Alteryx, we don't have to do that because all we need to do is pull in different input sources, put them together, and connect them all together. So that's, I think, one of the biggest challenges that this has solved. Other than that, in terms of when you're talking about the size of the data, the Alteryx, because of the backend algorithm that it has set, which is able to process the data and kind of reduce the size of it so that it is easier for us to process and run the different transformations that we need to. So it is quite easy that way. Once you've created the workflow, Alteryx will take care of all the data type conversions and everything, and at the end will throw you an extract which will be very much readable through your different tools if you have in place, like Tableau or ClickView or any of the other visualizations you have. I have to summarize this entire thing. I think the biggest thing is that it has minimized the number of handovers and minimized the number of codes that we have to write to pull in all the different data for the analysis.
Perfect, great. And Anujay, there was a second question about your Alteryx deployment, if you don't mind sharing it. Are you using a simple deployment of Alteryx on desktop, or do you have the actual Alteryx server in your organization?
As of now, we are using the desktop client of Alteryx because we are very new. We've been with Alteryx for slightly above a year probably now. So we are still on the desktop client version, but yes, as and more we start exploring the capabilities of the tool and what we've learned from the different kinds of help and the community forums and everything, we've kind of realized that there might be a bigger use case for us for the server as well. So that might be a way for forward, once we are sure that, okay, that everything that Alteryx server can do, we will be utilizing it, because there is no doubt about what server can do.
Perfect. So I think that addresses a couple of questions that come in through the audience about how Alteryx can handle the data on a simple desktop, because you're handling terabytes of data with an Alteryx instance on your desktops right now, and not necessarily needing huge systems or huge hardware in order to process all the data that you have.
Absolutely, absolutely. So with the desktop license, we are able to handle the terabytes of data speak about, and also are able to touch base with the different platforms like Mongo and Hive Server and Hadoop and Redshift and all the different databases that we have today. It's not a problem at all.
Excellent. Abhishek, there's a question here for you. Is Team Computers going to be providing any Alteryx trainings apart from some of the kind of user group or corporate trainings that you had mentioned?
Yeah, so Lisa, we have actually a specialized Alteryx training center at our end, and we do provide trainings for them. So you can reach out to my email IDs, they're mentioned in the slides, and we can help you out for doing that.
Great. There's a question here about can Alteryx handle data from Google Analytics, Octopus, Pardot, etc., or other marketing type data? Alteryx actually can handle a wide range of data. If you're curious to the types of data sources that we can actually connect to, I would suggest that you visit alteryx.com and look underneath our tech specs. But in short, we do actually have a direct connector for Google Analytics. We have a direct connector for Marketo. We have a direct connector for Salesforce, Twitter, and many, many more. We continuously introduce new data connectors. In addition to our input tool within the actual Alteryx interface, we'll connect to almost any readable data source that you can. We also have APIs that will help scrape web data quite quickly and easily that you can then pull into your Alteryx interface. You can parse that data quite quickly within the UI. It's really just, there's a tremendous amount of data sources that we can actually connect to. And I would highly recommend that you visit the Alteryx.com website to see the specific data sources, the list of specific data sources that we can ingest. We are 5 minutes past the top of the hour, and I definitely want to make sure that we respect everybody's time here today. Thank you so much for joining us. We will be sharing out the recording as well as the slides. A big thank you to Anujay from BookMyShow for sharing all of his insights and expertise with all of us today, as well as Abhishek in providing all of the information that he provided, as well as he's a great resource should you have any questions about Alteryx or any of the other analytic questions you may be having. Thank you once again for joining us. We hope that you were able to learn something valuable today.
Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes today's presentation. You may now disconnect your lines. Thank you, and have a great day.